Just as I began to film this week's episode of Irish Bandit Revolution, I was met with the unfortunate news that the wrestling world has lost one of its premier voices in Mean Gene Okerlund. Mean Gene was 72 years old when he passed away. He leaves an indelible legacy on professional wrestling, working for the WWE, originally starting out in the AWA, going on to WCW and becoming a WWE Hall of Famer. I actually had the opportunity to meet Mean Gene Okerlund in 1992, and he was such a wonderful, wonderful person to talk to. It's kind of a funny story, if I can just, take a moment to reminisce here. It was Thanksgiving weekend of 1992. I was just a teenager at that point, huge wrestling fan, still am to this very day. We were sitting around with a bunch of friends and just talking, chit-chatting, shooting the breeze. My sister, her husband, her now husband, and my brother were all out at a bar here in Saskatoon, and they called my dad, and he went off to the bedroom to talk to them about something, and didn't know what it was. He came back. He must have told my mom what it was. So then he just patted me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, Rob, let's go for a drive. Let's get out of the house for a little bit and just, there's so much going on here and you could probably use the break." And, okay, sure. Time spent with my dad, I always welcome that. So we drove to this bar. It's now a Chinese restaurant here in the city, but we drove to the bar and Dad, I'm 13 years old. I can't get into the bar. Just hold on. They know what's going on. Huh? What's going on? We walk into the bar, and sitting there with a drink in his hand is Mean Gene Okerlund. We must have talked for about maybe 45 minutes, talking about everything, talking about Hulk Hogan returning, talking about wrestling in general, how the match the next night at the show in Saskatoon was changing. It was a WWF Championship match between Ric Flair and the Ultimate Warrior originally. That was the original match on the card. But he told me, he didn't tell me who was going to win, but he told me that it was being changed to Ric Flair versus Bret Hart for the championships. Like, oh, wow. Okay, they're both great technical wrestlers. That'll be a great match. Little did I know that the next night Bret Hart would be winning the title, but that's not the point of this story here. So, so we were getting ready to leave. My dad just taps me on the shoulder again and says, we should get going. Like the bar people were very cool with this. So, I wasn't drinking or anything. I was just talking with Mean Gene, and, Dad tapped me on the shoulder and said, it's time to go. Okay, well, it was great meeting you, Gene. And he said, hey, no problem. Tell you what, tomorrow at the show, what I want you to do is I want you to go to one of the security guards and tell them that you're a friend of mine, and we'll get you backstage to meet some of the WWF superstars. When we got to the bar, my brother and my sister came up to me and said, Mean Gene Okerlund is sitting right there. Okay. Oh, wow, Mean Gene Okerlund. Okay, you have to promise one thing, though. Sure. Do not, under any circumstances, hug him. Okay. How are they supposed to know that Mean Gene Okerlund was going to tell me that he was going to take me backstage to meet the superstars of the WWF? Like, seriously, how? Needless to say, I broke my promise to them. He told me that. I just lunged from my seat and wrapped my arms around. My brother and my sister both said afterwards, I thought he'd be a rock. But yeah, I did get to go backstage. I think Mean Gene might have been a little too drunk to remember what happened, but I did get to go backstage. I saw everyone. I was standing at a table next to Jimmy Hart. I saw Harvey Whippleman running up a set of stairs. I saw Ric Flair come and shake hands with Jimmy Hart. I got to shake hands with Owen Hart. What more could a 13-year-old massive wrestling fan want? So it is with great sadness that we dedicate this episode of Irish Bandit Revolution to Mean Gene Okerlund. Gene, You will be greatly missed. You were one of the premier voices in professional wrestling. Always gonna remember. Always gonna remember. Well, let me tell you something, Mean Gene, brother. Gene, we love you. You are gonna be severely missed. Godspeed, my friend. This week on Irish Bandit Revolution, we boldly go back to looking at Star Trek and looking at my 5 all-time favorite episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Let's engage to a brand new episode. Irish Bandit Revolution begins now. Welcome back to another edition of Irish Bandit Revolution. I hope everyone is having a great week. I hope everyone has had a fantastic new year. I, as always, am your host, the one, the only, the second Irish Bandit. This week on the first Irish Bandit Revolution of 2019, we're taking a look back at one of my all-time favorite sci-fi series. We talked about Star Trek, the original series, earlier this season. This time around, we're talking about its sequel series, The Next Generation. Overall, I thought Next Generation was a better show than the original series. Better cast. Like, I will take Captain Picard over Captain Kirk any day, and I liked Captain Kirk. But I just think that Next Generation was just a better show overall. It lasted 7 seasons. That shouldn't be indicative to the series because, Star Trek, the original series, had some great episodes, but I just think, storyline-wise, character development-wise, Next Generation was just the superior show. I'm sorry, Dad, but that's true. So we're going to talk about my 5 favorite episodes this week on Irish Bandit Revolution, which is kind of funny because when I was looking at the list of my 5 favorite episodes, all but one are multi-part episodes, like 2-part episodes. And we're going to get in that first episode here in the one episode that's like a 1-episode show. Everything else after that, 2 episodes. But we're going to get into that right now. Coming in at number 5, this was just a fantastic episode and just a heart-wrenching look back at Star Trek that was. It starred guest starred James Doohan in his iconic role of Montgomery Scott. Coming in at number 5, Relics. So quickly, just running down the plot of the episode, the Starship Enterprise responds to a distress call, drops out of warp to discover a nearby Dyson sphere. They trace the distress call to the USS Jenolan, a Federation transport ship that has been reported missing for 75 years, and which has crashed on the sphere's outer shell. Commander William Riker, Chief Engineer Geordi LaForge, and Lieutenant Worf transport to the Jenolan while the Enterprise investigates the sphere. LaForge discovers that the Jenolan's transporter has been jury-rigged to sustain 2 life signals within its pattern buffering indefinitely. The one has degraded too far to be recovered. LaForge reverses the process and restores the remaining life form, which turns out to be former Starfleet officer Captain Montgomery Scott. Okay, I totally forgot that Scotty attained the rank of captain. Good on him. Scott explains that during checkup of his health aboard the Enterprise, that he was only a passenger aboard the Jenolan during his retirement. But when the ship was caught in the Dyson sphere's gravity field, only he and one other officer survived the crash, and Scott had rigged this transporter to try and keep them alive, until a rescue vessel could arrive. After being cleared by Dr. Beverly Crusher, Scott is eager to see the advances in technology, including a tour of the engineering deck, but quickly finds that his old knowledge has long been surpassed, and his efforts to help are instead getting in the way of normal operations. Ordered to leave engineering by LaForge, Scott heads to 10 forward, and is upset to learn that real alcohol is no longer served on Starfleet ships, having been replaced with synthanol, which Scotty refuses to drink. Commander Data offers a potent beverage from Ghana's private stock to Scott, which Data can only describe as being green. Good description. Bottle in hand, Scott uses one of the Enterprise's holodecks to recreate the bridge of his old ship, the Enterprise, to try and relieve his past. Captain Jean-Luc Picard joins Scott after hearing of his difficulties in becoming adjusted to the 24th century and tries to console him, to which Scott declares himself a relic of the past. Picard reveals that the green drink is Albadarian whiskey that he provided to Guinan, which the par partake heartily. That's all I'm going to leave for that because, I want you guys to watch these episodes if you're a big Star Trek fan like me, or if you're looking for something new. I know some people aren't going to be into the whole sci-fi thing, but, if you're not, that's cool. But this was just a fantastic episode. Very heartbreaking to see Scotty try to fit in the 24th century with this new Enterprise, and just feeling so outdated. James Doohan's performance in this episode was just so heart-wrenching, and just seeing him feel so out of place you felt for Scotty, because he was, the engineer of the Enterprise. Anything that needed to be done, he did with gusto. And I always love Scotty's principle of tell him it takes twice as longer than it actually does. That way you look like a miracle worker. Scotty was always one of my favorites on the original Star Trek, and it was so great to see him in this episode. And I absolutely loved it. And, God rest your soul, James Doohan. You were just fantastic in this episode. So this is why it is my 5th favorite episode of Next Generation. All right, so from here on out, we're talking about 2-parters from 4 to 1. Coming in at number 4, I think. Let me just double check here. Okay, yes, this is all. I'm sorry, I'm still kind of scatterbrained from the announcement earlier today, but we'll get through that. All right, so coming in at number 4, yes, this is the first 2-parter of the countdown, and it's also the very first episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. One of the most memorable episodes there is, that being Encounter at Farpoint. In the year 2364, the newest flagship of the United Federation of Planets, Starfleet's USS Enterprise, travels to the planet Deneb 4 for its maiden voyage. Enterprise is to open relations with the simple Bandit people, who have somehow been able to tap immense energy reserves and construct Farpoint Station, much to the surprise of the Federation. En route, the Enterprise is met by the omnipotent being who identifies himself as Q. I have a friend who absolutely hates Q. I thought he was the best thing about Next Generation, but we'll get to that in a second. A member of the Q Continuum and declares that humanity is being put on trial, posing an appearance as a Grand Inquisitor, that's the word, and deciding that their actions in the upcoming mission will be used to judge their worthiness and determine their fate as a race. Before letting the ship resume its course, Q warns Captain Picard, played iconically by Patrick Stewart, which is funny because, he's English, but Picard's French. I don't know. That he is destined to fail. As the Enterprise arrives, the crew members explore the offerings of Farpoint Station and establish relations with their Bandai host, Groper Zorn, played by Michael Bell. The crew becomes suspicious when items they desire seem to appear out of nowhere moments later, and are unable to identify the power source that feeds the station. Deanna Troi, an empath, senses a being with powerful yet despairing emotions nearby, and the crew discover a strange labyrinth beneath the station. But Zorn does not offer any explanation. As the Enterprise crew continues its exploration, a large unknown alien craft enters orbit and begins to fire upon the older Bandai settlement near Farpoint Station, and abducts Zorn. Before Picard orders the ship's phasers to be fired at the craft, Q appears to remind him of humanity's trial and prompts Picard to send an away team to the alien craft. The away team discovers the craft has passengers similar to those under Farpoint, and they are able to free Zorn. Their actions cause the alien craft to transform to a jellyfish-like space creature. I don't remember that. And Picard is able to deduce the mystery of Farpoint Station. So I'll just leave it there because after you get to intergalactic flying jellyfish. But I think one of the most memorable things of this episode is we met Q for the first time, played by John DeLance, who's just, oh, he sunk his teeth into this role and he never let it go for 7 seasons. He was just fantastic anytime he was on screen. Now, like I said, I have a friend who absolutely detests Q, but maybe that's the reason why. You were supposed to detest Q. I thought him more of a trickster, and I thought John DeLance did a fantastic performance as Q. He was just so smarmy, and he always thought he was better than Picard. And I think one of my favorite lines, I can't remember what episode it was from now. I really have to watch Star Trek again, Next Generation again. It's on Netflix, so I'm going to get to it eventually. But they were looking back at Picard's life, and in walks Q with a bunch of flowers, and he says, "John Luck Pickard." I don't know why that makes me laugh. It just does. It just shows Q's character of being this smartass, and I absolutely love it. I thought Q was one of the best things about Next Generation, and we saw that right from the very beginning in the first episode, which is why I count it Farpoint Parts 1 and 2 take my 4th spot. Coming in at number 3. I only put this list together this morning, sorry. Oh, yes. So we go from the very first episode of Star Trek The Next Generation at number 4 of my all-time favorite episodes. Coming in at number 3, another two-parter. It is the series finale of All Good Things. I think this description just sums up Best of Both Worlds. That's the next one. Spoiler alert. I think this description fits perfectly with All Good Things. The plot involves Captain Jean-Luc Picard jumping through time and the formation of an anomaly that defies casualties. Apparently, I need a new set of eyes. The plot involves Captain Jean-Luc Picard jumping through time and the formation of an anomaly that defies casualty. The whole situation being a test that allows Picard to demonstrate human potential to the Q continuum by making an intuitive jump of thought to understand the cause of and how to eliminate the anomaly before it destroys humanity. The finale was written as a valentine to the show's fans and is now generally regarded as one of the series' best episodes. Yeah, that's completely true because this was just a fantastic way to finish off the series. And the final scene of Picard sitting at the table with the rest of the crew to play poker was just a wonderful way to end it, because for so long, he denied playing poker with the crew, and then he finally sits in, and it's just a wonderful Baker's kiss, just a wonderful way to finish off the series. And again, is one of my all-time favorite episodes. Just the way they wove that together was just fantastic, and I loved it. Coming in at number 2 on the penultimate spot of my all-time favorite episodes, this one is probably one of the most memorable episodes for only one reason. I am Locutus of the Borg. Coming in at number 2, Best of Both Worlds. This was really one of the first event episodes because it spanned from one season to the next. It ended the previous season and picked back up with the next season. In the episode, the Enterprise must battle the Borg, who are intent on conquering Earth, with a captured and assimilated Captain Picard as their emissary. Part 1 was the finale of Season 3, while Part 2 was the premiere of Season 4. It is considered one of the most popular TNG episodes. In April of 2013, Best of Both Worlds was released as a single feature in 1080p, 1331 ratio, edited together as a single film on Blu-ray disc. Ooh, that would be awesome to watch. In this version, the short summary of Part 1 at the start of Part 2 is removed, and there is no second opening credits montage. Well, it's, a movie. They label it as a movie, so that makes sense. The 90-minute single also has some special features and audio commentary available for the episode. One reviewer said it was better than some of the Star Trek theatrical films. As long as it was better than that 2009 dreck that we had to endure. Or that I had to endure. I actually heard a lot of people say, oh, I like the 2009 remake with J.J. Abrams. I hated that movie. But we're not talking about that piece of garbage. Best of Both Worlds is probably one of the most recognized episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation because you had that peril with Jean-Luc Picard being assimilated by the Borg. I am Locutus. And just in that, the way he said that, that sends shivers down your spine. It was such a fantastic episode, memorable, just great writing throughout both parts, and just fantastic acting by everyone involved. Patrick Stewart was just, oh my God. And they even carried on years later. He was still dealing with the effects of being Borg, even later on in later seasons. So it was just, wow. Fantastic to watch, fantastic to revisit. I strongly recommend going to watch that one because I think I'm going to go watch that one again sometime very, very soon. Okay, no honorable mentions this time around. What? No honorable mentions? No. Honestly and truthfully, no honorable mentions this time around. So we're just going to get into it. This is my all-time favorite episode of Star Trek The Next Generation for one very simple reason. It was the episode where Spock came on. Coming in at number 1 of my all-time favorite episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation, Unification, Parts 1 and 2. Hearing that legendary Starfleet officer Spock may have defected to the Romulan Empire, Picard travels to Vulcan to talk to Spock's father, former Ambassador Sarek, who is near death from the ravages of Bandit syndrome. In a rare lucid moment, Sarek discloses that Spock has long harbored hopes of peacefully reuniting the Vulcan and Romulan peoples, who once were part of the same civilization. Rather than committing treason, Spock actually may be initiating steps to achieve that peaceful goal. Determined to find the truth, Picard and Data, disguised as Romulans, set out for the Romulan homeworld. Upon finding Spock, Picard learns that the Vulcan is indeed on an unauthorized mission to reunify his people with the Romulans. Spock counts among his allies a Romulan senator named Pardek and the Romulan proconsul Nero. This was another one of those event episodes because Spock, Leonard Nimoy, was probably the second biggest name from the original series after William Shatner. We didn't get... I was always hoping that maybe they'd do a crossover with Kirk coming on the New Enterprise, but they never did that. They didn't do that until Generations, which I think was the best course of action to do. If you're going to do something like that, leave it for a movie when Picard and Kirk finally meet. So I had no problems with that, but it was so awesome to see Spock one more time in an episode of Star Trek, and to be in The Next Generation was just wow. Amazing to watch. Great episode, and like I said, it is by far my favorite episode. I guess my favorite two-parter. Because, like I said, every episode after Relic in this countdown were two-parters, but that's okay. I count them as one episode, so, and if you like one part over another, that's fine too. But yeah, Unification was just a fantastic episode and is my all-time favorite episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode of Irish Bandit Revolution. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. I'd really appreciate that. What's your favorite episode of Star Trek The Next Generation? Let me know in the comments section down below. I'd really love to read that. Don't forget to share this video anywhere you can on all the social media outlet suspects. Sorry, kind of got a bit of a sore throat here right now, so I'm just working through that. Over my shoulder right here, you're going to see a link to last week's episode where we're talking about all the biggest news stories of 2018. It's a 2018 year in review. In the description down below, you're going to see a link to my Redbubble store where you can pick up all your Irish Bandit merchandise for the new year. We've got stickers, we've got t-shirts, we've got ladies racerbacks. You've heard this rap so many times. We've got we've got mugs. Yeah, that's it. We've got coffee mugs, travel mugs, phone cases for iPhone and Samsung, iPad cases, whatever your heart's desire. You can get it all at the Irish Bandit shop. Don't forget, if you're new here, to subscribe, and if you're already subscribed, tap that bell and you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video or whenever I go live, which will be next week's season finale of Irish Bandit Revolution. I said it in the 2018 year in review. I think season 12 has been one of the, if not the best season. I think it just narrowly edges out season 4. But we'll talk about all that next week in the live season finale. We're going to be reading your comments. We're going to be talking about the season coming up and just how generally overall, like I said, I think this season has been one of the best. So we'll get into all that next week. Guys, have a great week. I hope you're having a great start to 2019. I know I am. 2018, like I said before, it had its bumps in the road, but overall 2018 was a good year for me. And 2019, except for that little thing at the beginning where I was talking about Mean Gene Okerlund passing away, so far 2019 has been good, but 2019 just started. But I'm feeling a lot more positive, a lot more happy, and I can't wait to share this year with you guys. And I'm choking up thinking about that, so I'm just going to go with now. Have a great rest of the week, and I will talk to you again next week for the season finale. I'm the Bandit. I'm out of here. Take care.